Welcome back once again, all of my low-carb friends, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. Today I have another very easy keto update recipe for you. Today I am going to show you how to make an updated version of my cinnamon rolls. You may or may not have seen that I already have cinnamon rolls on this channel, but this is a updated and I believe better version of my cinnamon rolls. Y'all know I'm always trying to improve things and make things taste as close to the traditional thing as I can. So if you want a printable version of this recipe, you can check out my website at janet'sdeliciouslowcarbkitchen.com. You can find a printable version of this recipe and other goodies there for you. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see lots of easy, delicious, low-carb keto recipes, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button. That way you can be notified every time I put out new videos. And if you are a music lover, make sure you check out the link in the description to my other YouTube channel, Inspirational Songs with Janet. I've recorded another new song there, so make sure you check that out and subscribe to that channel also. And while you do all that, let's get cooking. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Line an 8-inch round cake pan with a silicone mat or some parchment paper. Grind 10 grams or about 2 tablespoons of whole psyllium husk until it's about half its volume. So after you're done grinding it, it should be around 1 tablespoon, give or take a bit. Place the ground psyllium husk into a large mixing bowl. Sift in 84 grams or around 3/4 cup of coconut flour. 38 grams or around 3 teaspoons of the granulated sugar substitute of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit sweetener. 3 tablespoons or around 38 grams of the brown sugar substitute of your choice. I'm using brown monk fruit sweetener. Now, if you want to, you can use all granulated sweetener or all brown sweetener. That's up to you. I just like the flavor and the texture that the mix of both makes. Add 12 grams or around 1 tablespoon of baking powder. A half teaspoon of salt, and if you want to, you can add some dry seasonings or spices to give your cinnamon rolls a little bit more flavor. I added 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Sift all the dry ingredients together until they're fully combined and there are no lumps. Stir in 3 large room temperature eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, a half cup of melted butter, 2 tablespoons or around 31 milliliters of hot keto milk of your choice. My favorite keto milk is always coconut milk. And 2 tablespoons or around 31 milliliters of hot water. Now again, if you want to here, you can use all water, but the milk makes the dough a little bit softer, so that makes for a lighter cinnamon roll. Whatever combination you use, just make sure that the water and the milk are hot. This will help soften the psyllium husk and activate it so it binds all your ingredients together. Stir everything together for about 2 minutes or until a moist dough forms. At first, the mixture is going to seem kind of soupy and really wet, but as you continue to stir, the psyllium husk and coconut flour are going to absorb the liquid and you will eventually have a nice moist dough. Scrape down the sides of the bowl and push the dough to the center of the bowl. Knead the dough in the bowl for about 2 minutes or until it can form into a smooth ball. Let the dough stand at room temperature for about 15 minutes so it can absorb the extra moisture and the psyllium husk can do its magic binding power. After 15 minutes, line a clean work surface with some parchment paper. Now you see here I'm using a silicone mat. The parchment paper really does better in this recipe because it's easier to use the paper when you go to roll your cinnamon rolls rather than the silicone mat. Place your dough ball on the lined work surface. Place a piece of parchment paper over your dough and roll it out into a rectangle that's about a 1/4 inch thick. It's roughly going to be around a 10 by 15 inch rectangle, give or take a bit. Brush the rectangle with 2 tablespoons of melted butter. In a small bowl, whisk together 38 grams or around 3 tablespoons of the brown sugar substitute of your choice. Again, I'm using brown monk fruit sweetener. And 2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. Whisk them together until they're fully combined and there are no lumps. Sprinkle the cinnamon mixture evenly over the melted butter. Make sure when you do this, you leave a little bit of an empty border around the edges of the dough so that when you go to roll your cinnamon rolls up, the filling won't squish out the sides. To roll up the cinnamon roll, start at the longest edge of the dough that's closest to you. Use the parchment paper that's underneath the dough to roll the dough into a long, tight, smooth spiral. That parchment paper is going to help guide your dough into that spiral. Now, if for some reason your dough seems a little bit too wet and it doesn't seem like it's rolling into a spiral, you can add very, very small amounts of coconut flour until the dough rolls into a smooth spiral. Just don't use too much coconut flour, otherwise you'll have dry cinnamon rolls. Once the dough is rolled into a long spiral, lightly dampen your fingers and rub your fingers along the seam so you can seal up the seam of the roll and you won't have any cracks around the outside edges. Make sure that your dough is smooth at all times. You do not want any cracks, otherwise your cinnamon rolls are going to crack while they bake. Let the rolled up dough sit at room temperature for about 10 minutes. This just helps the layers of the spiral to set in place really well. After 10 minutes, cut the dough into about 10 equal portions. Then place the portions side by side into your prepared pan. If for some reason it seems like as you're transferring the rolls that the spiral layers are a little bit loose, then just press the layers together so that they seal tightly. You want to be able to see the spiral, but you want the spiral to be tight also. Use your hands and slightly flatten the tops of the rolls. You just want the tops barely flattened. It just helps keep the spiral layers all together. Bake the rolls in your preheated oven at 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes or until the rolls are golden. Once the rolls are done baking, remove them from the oven. Let them stand for at least 3 minutes before you apply any icing or glaze. You don't have to put any icing or glaze on them if you don't want to. But as we all know, traditionally, cinnamon rolls have an icing or glaze on them. I just use a light glaze. Basically, I mix together powdered monk fruit allulose blend and a little bit of the coconut milk until it gets to be the consistency I want. And usually I add a little bit of vanilla extract. But if you want a thicker glaze or a thicker frosting, then beat on high 3 ounces of softened cream cheese, 3 tablespoons of softened butter, 30 milliliters or around 2 tablespoons of the keto milk of your choice. Again, mine's always coconut milk. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Beat them for about 1 minute or until they're smooth. Then reduce the speed of your mixer to medium-low and gradually add 45 grams or around a 1/3 cup of the powdered sugar substitute of your choice. I'm using powdered monk fruit allulose blend. You can adjust the powdered sugar substitute and the keto milk more or less according to how thick or thin you want your frosting. Whatever icing you're using, spread it evenly over the rolls while they're warm. Now the icing is going to soak into the rolls as they cool. So if you decide to eat these at room temperature, then some of the icing will be absorbed. And if you want to add more, you can add more. It's all up to you. You can eat these warm or at room temperature. Alrighty, here we are with my lovely little cinnamon roll. Oh, it smells so good. I love the smell of cinnamon. Now, I've made mine kind of small and just put a light little glaze, but of course you can make yours as big or as small as you want to, and you can put however much glaze or frosting. You know, it's all up to you how you want to do it. I don't like mine overly sweet because I usually have them in the morning with a cup of coffee. So I don't want anything super sweet in the morning. But anyway, it looks good. It smells good. It is nice and soft and moist. I actually made these a few days ago. I wanted to see how well they would store if they would dry out, and I wanted to see how well they would reheat if they would dry out after they reheated. And so far, so good. They stored very nicely. I just popped them in my microwave for a few seconds, and they still feel nice and moist. Doesn't feel like it dried out or anything. Looks good, smells delicious. Let's see what it tastes like. Oh yes. That is very, very good. A couple things I didn't like about my other cinnamon roll recipe is, one, I didn't think it had enough filling in it. You know, I like to taste the filling. And the dough was a little bit drier than I wanted it to be. And so When I rolled it, it cracked a little bit. I was able to get the cracks out, but still, I wanted to make something that was a little bit easier to roll without worrying about having it to crack. And this rolled easily, tastes delicious. It doesn't have a nasty wet texture, just a nice, moist, yummy texture. It is very, very, very good. A big fat thumbs up, yes. Yummy, yummy to my tummy. You can eat these immediately. If you do have any leftovers, make sure they're cooled to room temperature and store them in an airtight container at room temperature for up to 3 days, or in an airtight container in your refrigerator for up to 1 week. I haven't tried to freeze these. I think they would freeze okay, but I'm not sure. So if you want to try it, go ahead and try it. If it works, let me know in the comments. Eat and enjoy. And that's our recipe of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to see more recipes like this, make sure you click that thumbs up like button, click that subscribe button. Let me know if you have any recipes that you'd like to learn how to make, and I'll do what I can to get those out there for you. And as always, keep cooking.